Doing another video suggestion this week, this time from Gab43 Baseball, who wants to know when young teams like the Blue Jays and Padres will be postseason contenders. While we can't be certain of exactly when these teams will be contenders, we can at least get an idea by looking at other rebuilds in recent years. Lucky for us, 3 notable rebuilds resulted in World Series titles in the last 5 seasons. So let's see what we can learn from the 2015 Royals, 2016 Cubs, and 2017 Astros. My name is Bobby, and welcome to another edition of Stat Stories. Before we go through each team individually, here's a general guideline for how these rebuilds played out. A new general manager is hired, young talent is acquired, a new manager is hired once that talent is ready for the majors, the young core grows together in the majors, veteran players are brought in to fill the roster, and boom, World Series champs. Seems easy enough, right? Now, obviously, it's not easy, and things can really go awry in step 4. Top prospects don't always pan out, and some take longer to develop than others. But you'll see that in our 3 examples, all the pieces seem to fit at the right time. Starting with the Royals, GM Dayton Moore was hired in mid-2006 amid 3 straight 100-loss seasons for the team. Their struggles led to high draft picks each year, which were used to get Alex Gordon, Luke Hochevar, Mike Moustakas, and Eric Hosmer. While Hochevar was a bust as a starting pitcher, he would have success as a reliever, and the other 3 were key everyday players for the Royals. In addition to these draft picks, star pitcher Zach Greinke was traded to the Brewers after the 2010 season for youngsters Lorenzo Cain, Alcides Escobar, and Jake Odorizzi, with Odorizzi later being traded for pitchers James Shields and Wade Davis. So now let's look at how their roster shaped up by 2015 when they won it all. We're going to just look at position players right now and save pitchers for later on. So when did these players make their debuts for the Royals? Perez, 2011, Hosmer, 2011, Escobar, 2011, Moustakas, 2011, Cain, 2011, Dyson, 2010, and Gordon, 2007. Their position player core all came up around the same time, and it took a couple years, but in 2013, they had their first winning season since 2003. Add in Paulo Orlando, free agents Omar Infante, Alex Rios, and Kendrys Morales, and then trades for Drew Butera and Ben Zobrist, and you have the main players from their 2015 season. Again, I'll touch on pitchers in a bit, but the rebuild timeline for this team took 10 seasons, with 2006 being the beginning, 2011 marking the debut of the young core, and 2015 ending with the World Series title. This is probably the most realistic timeline for a rebuild, but some teams can pull things off a little faster. The Cubs timeline begins with the hiring of GM Jed Hoyer after the 2011 season. Hoyer's strategy for acquiring young talent was simple. If a pitcher was performing better than expected, just trade him at the deadline. They did this not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times in a 3-year span, and in doing so, acquired their starting shortstop, 2 quality starting pitchers, and 3 relievers who are all part of the World Series squad. Looking at their timeline, it's amazing how quick the Cubs completed their rebuild. From their lowest point in 2012 to champions in 2016, it took half as long for them as it did the Royals. This is in part due to smart draft picks, and in particular, Chris Bryant and Kyle Schwarber, who were advanced college hitters that made it to the majors rather quickly. Add in a couple of amateur free agents, some big free agent signings, and 1 smart trade, and the Cubs had their recipe for success. The Astros had a similar journey to that of the Cubs, also beginning after the 2011 season with GM Jeff Luhnow being hired. Like our previous 2 teams, the Astros built a core of players through the draft, selecting stars George Springer, Carlos Correa, and Alex Bregman, as well as Derek Fisher and pitchers Dallas Keuchel and Lance McCullers Jr. Going by season record, 2013 was actually their lowest point, but since I've been basing these rebuilds off of when the GM was hired, the Astros rebuild took a total of 6 years. Time for some charts. Looking at how position players were acquired by each team, we see that there's quite a sizable chunk for draft picks and amateur free agents. Each team had 3 regular free agents, a handful of players acquired through trades, and the Astros had a waiver claim. Pitching, on the other hand, presents some differences. The Royals have 5 homegrown pitchers, the Cubs have 0, and the Astros have 2. This is an interesting contrast because the Royals didn't acquire many pitchers from trades, while the other two teams built most of their pitching staffs that way. Also of note is that the Astros had 2 pitchers claimed off waivers, and the Cubs had a Rule 5 selection and Hector Rondon. The main takeaway from these charts is that position players were acquired in a similar fashion, with each team building their core through the draft and with amateur signings. Pitching, on the other hand, was left largely to trades and free agency. So that brings us back to our initial question of when the Blue Jays and Padres will be contenders. Based on the examples we looked at, I'd say the Blue Jays have a clearer rebuilding plan in place. Most of their young talent reached the majors in 2019, and based on the Royals timeline, the Blue Jays should be a dark horse contender by 2021 and a real force by 2022, as long as they acquire the pitching help they so desperately need. The Padres, on the other hand, don't quite fit the blueprints of any of our examples, since they have gone and splashed the cash on free agents already. I'd say that they're a year further along in the process compared to the Blue Jays, but their timeline is subject to change depending on what trades or free agents they sign. Again, we can't be certain of when a team will turn the corner and become a contender, but if all goes well, we could see a Blue Jays-Padres World Series in 2023. So thank you all for the feedback on the Chris Davis video. There are some great video suggestions, and I'd love to cover them all at some point. Remember to leave a like, share this video, and hit subscribe to help this channel grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.